Okay, so I'll start off with some things that I thought went well. So being that in my planning, I specifically targeted planning for student engagement and discussion. I think that really showed throughout the lesson in that students were engaged in really wanting to find out if the ratios were equivalent. So, reverting to mathematical practices, one of the practices being problem solving and persevering through problem solving, I think the engagement helped them to really kind of persevere because they really wanted to know how to solve the problem. So I thought that went well, and that definitely showed in the lesson. The other thing I thought went well was giving students the ability to discuss and critique a business in the real world that they know about. So being that we're a Renzulli school and kind of providing enrichment for all students, this really gave students the opportunity to be engaged in a type 2 activity where they were able to use their math to write letters and provide suggestions from the lesson to Starbucks about how they can change their ingredients. Of course, we'd like to kind of push this to the next level of Renzulli, being a type 3 activity where they push to see change for Starbucks, maybe partnering up with Starbucks and seeing what they can do to make the drinks taste a little bit closer to each other. So I think those things, the engagement, the problem solving, the discussion, I think those things really kind of shine throughout the lesson. As far as things that I might change in the future, although I did go from table to table, I was constantly assessing students through their discussion. And then again, after I collected and used my rubric to assess students, I definitely could have maybe used a checklist, like standards-based checklist, or something after meeting with each group to be able to just kind of jot down some trends so that I'd be able to refer back to that when I'm either planning for the next year or planning my next unit, to kind of just make sure I include those things in my next units. As far as my next steps, I definitely want to focus in my next unit on the math practice of constructing a viable argument. So while students were able to kind of critique Starbucks and come up with arguments and reasoning, when they were asked to use their math work and apply it and explain, they kind of struggled a little bit in that area. So I think they just need more practice with it and kind of connecting their math work and connecting their arguments to a written explanation. So I definitely want to infuse that in my next unit. So going back to the unit overview, I am definitely going to include at the beginning of the unit, I'm going to kind of pose the students with this question at the beginning of the unit before they learn all of the different types of ways to model, different ways to solve the ratio problems. I'm gonna make sure I include this as kind of like a catch at the beginning of the unit, and then as part of the assessments in the unit, I'm going to make sure that this is included with all of kind of the scaffolding questions and stuff that I had for L students and students with special needs in the unit, so that next year I do remember to do those things. In addition, being that I noticed that constructing a viable argument is something that they struggled with on this task, making sure in my other lessons or my other parts of the unit that I kind of infuse that a little bit more so that next year they will be able to show a little bit more progress on that area.